The purpose of this video is to provide an overview how organization can fulfill regulatory obligation for asset-intensive organization. Asset-intensive organization require to outline how they meeting regulatory obligations as part of the contract to the client. What you could see is in here that we have the capability to analyze any regulations. What for the sake of this demo, we pick an example of the Local Government Act. What you could see is here the example of this act on the screen. This act is quite complex and is required extensive number of capability, expertise, resources to be able to understand what it's saying and undertake an approach moving forward. Smart Assurance Solutions has the capability to outline the entire requirement what you can see on the screen. We pick an example of these. For example, you could pick any clauses that you want. On the screen, you could see the act requirement in here. Given this language is quite complex and coming from lawyer, we have the option to be able to simplify what actually each clause is. So for a layperson, they can actually quickly understand what it wants. We're able to analyze these based on the obligation keyword. What are the must, shall, should statement that we have? What are the obligation type? Is it related to the compliance, regulation, environmental, safety, asset management? Who is responsible for this obligation clause by clause? When do you need to fulfill this obligation timeline? Before the contract start, after the contract, or when the contract comes to the closure? And on the right hand side, you can see a sample of organization management systems documentations. Given we have this access to this documentation, we're able to undertake assessment in real time. For example, for this clause, you could see a green button in here. That means that this clause requirement at the moment has been fulfilled. You want to understand why this is the case. You could see the reasoning why this is the case. You're able to pinpoint in which folder, which document, and which page number this requirement at the moment fulfilled. So normally this get done manually. Open the document, go to your SharePoints, continuously review things, think about it, and then make a record of this. All of this can be in real time. In some aspect, organization may not fully fulfill its requirement. We're able to understand for which specific requirement this is the case. We're able to tell you why this is the case, as you can see in here. We're able to outline in which document you have a closest requirement. Most importantly, we're able to tell you what needs to be done to bridge this one, to move from partial compliance or non-compliance to fully compliant. In here, you have the capability to assign this task to some of your team. For example, say that Alex, you're responsible to fulfill these. Yes, you could send them an email and be able to process this at a speed, at a scale. For an executive, it's quite important to be able to communicate this across the value chain and understanding about over time is the level of compliance against the requirement of the regulation is fulfilling or you still got gaps. And that's important because for value for money assessment. Then you're able to have a helicopter view of what actually is the case across the regulations and what are the key requirements at the moment that we have inside these. So in a cost constrained environment, you are able to prioritize what's the must obligation that you have. Then you move to, for example, the shall, should obligations. You have to understand about what are these obligations because these documents is quite complex. So hence it's going to be really hard to able to identify where the focus needs to be. You're able to communicate who is responsible for what to your stakeholders and when do you need to fulfill this obligation by. And the reason this is important is you're able to prioritize your resources and do forward planning. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, feel free to reach out.